The ground shook beneath Lara Quinn's boots as a jagged meteor slammed into the cracked surface of the colony. Dust and sparks flew into the air, choking her throat and stinging her eyes. She stumbled, heart pounding, scanning the ruined landscape for shelter. The miners' outposts, long abandoned after the last storms, groaned under the impact. Then she saw it, a shadow larger than any machine she had ever scavenged, twisted and trembling among the wreckage. At first, Lara thought it was a rock formation, scorched and blackened. But a low, pained groan shattered her assumptions. Her stomach twisted. The shadow moved. Massive wings, torn and scorched, quivered as if trying to lift themselves. A long, serpentine neck bent awkwardly over jagged metal debris, and amber eyes blinked slowly, fixed on her. Fear clawed at her chest, yet something deeper, pity, curiosity, forced her forward. "Hey, it's okay," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I'm not going to hurt you." The creature's scales were cracked and dull, streaked with ash and blood. Smoke rose from its nostrils, and each exhalation rattled the ground. Lara could feel its pain as if it were her own. She fumbled in her pack and pulled out the small packet of rations she had saved for herself. Her hands shook, not from fear, but from the weight of the decision she was about to make. She stepped closer. The dragon hissed, a weak, almost human sound of desperation. Its wings twitched, flaring up in a small, fiery spark that lit the darkened sky for a brief moment. Lara froze. Her mind raced. One wrong step, one misjudged move, and she could be burned alive. But she couldn't leave it here. Not like this. "Please, just eat," she murmured, extending the food slowly. The dragon's head tilted, and the amber eyes studied her intently. A strange, intelligent gleam sparked in them. This was no mindless beast. It was aware, ancient, suffering, and it was deciding whether to trust her. Lara held her breath, every second stretching painfully, until the creature finally lowered its head and sniffed the offering. Its jaws, lined with jagged teeth, barely opened, but it nibbled at the rations. The spark of fire in its throat flared again, harmless this time, warming her face instead of burning it. A small smile broke on Lara's lips. She had done it. The creature had accepted her help. Then the ground quaked again. Another meteor, larger this time, struck nearby, sending a shockwave through the crater. Lara stumbled backward, dragging the dragon with her, but it groaned and shifted weakly, unable to rise. Its wings twitched in panic. She realized with a sinking feeling that if she didn't act fast, they would both be crushed by falling debris. Thinking quickly, she grabbed a broken mining beam and wedged it under part of the wreckage to prop it up. Sparks flew as metal groaned and twisted. The dragon hissed sharply, and a small plume of fire licked the beam. Lara winced, fearing it would ignite the dry debris, but then the dragon retracted, almost as if it understood her intentions. "Hold on," she whispered, more to herself than to the creature. "We'll get out of this." As she worked, she noticed markings along the dragon's scales, strange, almost geometric patterns etched deep into its skin, faintly glowing. She crouched closer, curiosity battling urgency. These weren't natural. Something, or someone, had left them there centuries ago perhaps. Lara's pulse quickened. Who could have done this? What? Suddenly, the dragon flinched violently, a jet of fire shooting from its cracked throat, narrowly missing her hair. She ducked instinctively, and her hand brushed against the pulsing marking on its chest. A faint hum resonated through her fingers. It wasn't just a mark. It was something alive, something dangerous, something connected to the dragon's very being. The sky darkened as more meteors streaked down in the distance. The dragon's wings twitched frantically, sending a wave of debris rolling toward them. Lara's heart hammered. She had saved it from starvation, but now the universe seemed determined to crush them both. She took a deep breath, her mind racing. She had faced danger before, scavenging wrecked colonies and dodging rogue drones, but nothing like this. This wasn't just survival. This was life or death for a creature she didn't fully understand, on a planet that seemed determined to bury them alive. And then the dragon's eyes locked on hers again, wide, intelligent, pleading. Its chest heaved, and the faint glow from the strange markings pulsed faster, almost like it was alive, reacting to her presence. Lara realized, with a mix of awe and terror, that this was more than a creature. This was ancient, powerful, and it might just change everything she thought she knew about the universe. A final tremor rocked the ground, sending a jagged slab of metal tumbling toward them. Lara's hands shot out instinctively to push the dragon aside, but before she could, the slab stopped in midair, suspended by some unseen force. The air shimmered around it, a faint distortion like heat waves but sharper, alive. The dragon's amber eyes widened, and it let out a low, almost human sigh. Lara's breath caught. She had no idea what just happened, but one thing was clear. Nothing in this galaxy was as it seemed. And from the depths of that creature's gaze, she understood that survival was only the beginning. A low, rumbling growl escaped its throat, directed not at her but at the sky. Something was coming. Something old. Something that had waited a very long time. Lara's stomach dropped. She knew this encounter had just become the first step of a story far larger than either of them. She glanced back at the sky and froze. Lara's heart pounded as she scrambled over the jagged debris, the dragon's massive body dragging behind her with every desperate step. Its wings twitched uselessly, frayed and weak, but she couldn't stop now. The ground quaked again as the colony shook violently, sending shards of metal and rock tumbling around them. Dust filled her lungs, grit stung her eyes, yet she pushed forward, her mind racing for a plan. She had saved the dragon from hunger, but the planet's fury was far from over. Above, the sky was a chaotic swirl of fire and shadow. Meteors streaked in unpredictable paths, each one threatening to crush the already unstable terrain. Lara's sharp eyes caught movement near the ruined mining drones. They had started activating again, their mechanical claws snapping, scanning for heat and movement. Something in the old systems had reawakened them. They were programmed to destroy anything unusual, anything alive, and now the dragon had drawn their attention. Lara skidded to a stop behind a half-collapsed beam, dragging the dragon's tail with her. "Stay down, stay quiet," she whispered. Her voice trembled, but she knew the creature could sense her urgency. The dragon shifted slightly, letting out a low, pained groan, and a faint glow from the markings along its chest pulsed as though it understood her words. Lara's stomach tightened. She had never felt responsibility like this, not for a creature that could crush her with a single strike, nor for something so clearly in agony. One drone, larger than the others, hovered above a mound of rubble, scanning with a lens that glinted like a predator's eye. Lara's mind raced. She could run, but the dragon couldn't keep up. If they moved too quickly, the debris could crush them or the drones could detect them. She needed a distraction. Spotting a pile of loose metal scraps, she grabbed a jagged piece and hurled it toward the drone. Sparks flew as it collided with the outer hull, and the machine pivoted sharply, its focus momentarily diverted. Lara exhaled in relief. Small victories, she reminded herself, kept you alive. The dragon, encouraged by her actions, attempted to shift its wings. They flared briefly, sending a wave of heat and small sparks into the air. Lara froze as a spark landed near a pile of flammable debris. She lunged, kicking the debris away just as a small flame licked the edge. The dragon's eyes met hers, a flicker of trust, or maybe gratitude, glimmering in their amber depths. For a moment the chaos paused, a tiny heartbeat of calm in a storm of destruction. But the calm didn't last long. A loud, metallic screech tore through the air as another drone approached from the other side of the crater. Lara's breath caught. They were surrounded. There was no time for careful planning now. She turned to the dragon, her voice steady despite the terror coursing through her veins. "We have to move, now." With surprising effort, she helped prop up one of the dragon's wings, guiding it to rise. It groaned, smoke curling from its nostrils, but it managed to lift a fraction of its massive body. Lara scrambled under the wing, pressing her back to its warm, rough scales as sparks and debris rained down around them. The dragon's chest heaved and the pulsing marks glimmered stronger, almost as if responding to her touch. Lara's pulse surged. She had no idea what the markings were, but whatever they were doing, they were helping. The first drone lunged at them, claws extended. Lara grabbed a fallen beam and jammed it against the drone's metal leg. Sparks flew as the machine screeched in protest. The dragon shuddered, lifting higher, and the momentum caused the drone to stumble back, sparing them momentarily. Lara's heart raced and a small smile tugged at her lips. Another tiny victory. Another reminder that courage and quick thinking could make the impossible seem just a little less impossible. As they struggled to rise, Lara noticed more of the strange markings across the dragon's wings. They weren't random scratches, they formed patterns faintly glowing like circuits, some pulsing in time with the dragon's heartbeat. Her curiosity ignited despite the danger. Who, or what, had done this to such an ancient creature? And why? The thought made her stomach churn with a mix of fear and awe. Something about this dragon connected to a larger, older mystery, one that had been waiting for someone like her to stumble into it. A sudden rumble beneath them forced Lara to freeze. The ground cracked open, revealing a jagged fissure that threatened to swallow both her and the dragon. The dragon reared in panic, wings flailing, and Lara realized that if they didn't act fast they'd both fall. Her mind worked frantically. She grabbed a piece of twisted metal and wedged it into the fissure, slowing its collapse. It was enough to give the dragon a moment's footing, just enough to push against the debris and lift slightly. Her muscles burned, her hands scraped raw, but she didn't stop. She had come too far, risked too much to fail now. The dragon's growl deepened, resonating in her chest. There was pain, yes, but also something else, a strange spark of awareness. Lara realized, with a thrill that mixed fear and hope, that the dragon wasn't just surviving, it was listening, learning, responding. Then, out of nowhere, a larger meteor slammed into the far side of the crater, sending a shockwave that made Lara stumble and nearly topple. The dragon hissed, a thin ribbon of fire curling from its mouth, but instead of retreating, it shifted closer to her, as if shielding her. Lara's breath caught. This was no ordinary creature. This was ancient, intelligent, and now bound to her in a fragile alliance of survival. She glanced at the glowing patterns along its chest one more time, tracing them with a trembling finger. The pulsing was stronger now, almost urgent, as if warning her of something unseen. Her heart skipped. The markings weren't just decoration, they were a signal. Something was coming. Something old. Something powerful. And the first echo of a deep, resonant roar vibrated through the crater. Not from the meteor, not from the drones, but from the dragon itself. Its eyes locked on the horizon, wide and glimmering. Lara's stomach dropped. Whatever was coming next, she knew it would change everything. She tightened her grip on its scaled wing, whispering, "We survive. Together." A shadow stretched across the cracked ground, bigger than anything she had imagined, darker than any meteor storm. And in that moment, Lara understood. This encounter had only just begun. The wind howled across the crater as Lara clung to the dragon's jagged scales, its wings trembling beneath her weight. The ground beneath them rumbled with every tremor, forcing the dragon to shift unsteadily, sending sprays of rock and dust into the air. Lara's pulse raced. She had never felt so alive and so terrified at the same time. Every step, every breath carried the risk of death, yet something deeper urged her onward, a mix of fear, curiosity, and determination. She couldn't abandon this creature. Not now. Her eyes flicked to the strange glowing patterns etched across the dragon's wings and chest. They pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat, and in some places, the glow had intensified since the meteors had begun striking. Lara traced a finger along one of the lines, careful not to scrape her knuckles on the rough scales. The energy hummed beneath her touch, faintly vibrating through her fingertips. She froze. This wasn't natural. The dragon was more than just alive. It was connected to something ancient, something alien. "Stay still," she whispered, her voice low but firm. The dragon huffed a weak plume of smoke in response, as if acknowledging her words. Her mind raced, piecing together the possibilities. Whatever had left these markings, it had been intentional. Whoever, or whatever, had done this had left behind more than scars. They had left a system, a device, perhaps a key to something far bigger than her little colony. Suddenly, the dragon flinched violently, wings jerking as a pulse of energy shot from the glowing lines across its chest. Lara grabbed hold of the nearest ridge of scales, nearly thrown off as a shockwave of heat and light vibrated through the air. Her ears rang, and a strange vision flickered in her mind, brief, sharp flashes of a distant battlefield, alien ships burning, dragons fighting creatures she could barely comprehend. She gasped and stumbled back, gripping the dragon's side. "It's showing me something," she whispered, astonishment mixed with fear. The dragon let out a low, resonant sound that seemed almost like a sigh, or perhaps a warning. Lara's stomach twisted. The flashes were fleeting, but they hinted at a war, one far older than any history she had ever known. Her mind reeled. Could this single dragon carry the memory of centuries? Could it remember battles, victories, betrayals, long before humanity had even existed on this rock? Her curiosity was interrupted by a screech of mechanical claws behind her. One of the old mining drones had recovered from her earlier distraction. Its sensors glowed red, scanning for life. Lara's hands shook as she grabbed a twisted metal pipe, holding it like a weapon, though she knew it was nearly useless. The dragon growled, low and warning, flames licking weakly from its mouth. Lara realized in a rush of clarity that this creature, though weakened, was ready to defend her if necessary. The drone lunged. Lara shoved the dragon aside instinctively, and it reacted instantly, sweeping a wing in a sudden flare that sent the machine tumbling back. Sparks flew as its systems overloaded. Lara's heart thumped violently. Each small victory, each life-saving action brought them closer, but danger was multiplying. More drones had begun activating, drawn by the combined energy of the meteor strikes and the dragon's glowing core. "Focus," she muttered, tightening her grip on the glowing chest mark. The hum beneath her fingers was stronger now, pulsing faster as though aware of the threat. She realized with a shiver that the energy wasn't just alien, it was intelligent. It was responding to the drones, to the danger, and maybe even to her own heartbeat. Her mind raced. Could she stabilize it even partially to give them a fighting chance? Thinking quickly, Lara pulled a small toolkit from her pack, her fingers moving with trembling precision. She pressed a panel of glowing lines, connecting circuits with tiny wires she had salvaged from a collapsed console. The markings responded immediately, pulsing brighter, flaring across the dragon's chest like veins of molten light. The dragon's wings twitched once, stronger this time, and it let out a low, melodic roar that shook the surrounding crater. The drones paused, sensors flickering in confusion. Lara realized they couldn't comprehend what had just happened. The dragon had just awakened something inside itself. Her heart soared, but fear tightened its grip. The vision from before returned: ships, battles, dragons falling in flames. Lara felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. If she failed, this dragon and the secrets it carried would be lost forever. The stakes had grown far beyond survival. They were guardians of knowledge, of power, of history long erased. Then, something unexpected happened. The dragon leaned closer, its amber eyes locking on hers. A flood of images, clearer now, rushed into her mind: alien cities, dragon fleets, ancient betrayals, and a weapon buried deep within its own chest. Lara stumbled, nearly falling against the scales, overwhelmed. She realized the markings weren't just decorative, they were a map, a guide, a key. The pulsing core had a purpose, and somehow she understood that it needed her help to fulfill it. The ground shook violently beneath them and Lara's stomach dropped. A massive shadow passed over the crater, much larger than any meteor, and the air itself seemed to distort with energy. The dragon hissed sharply, wings flaring weakly, but it didn't flee. It seemed to recognize the threat, whatever it was, and it was ready. Lara's heart raced. Whatever had arrived wasn't just a meteor or a drone, it was something alive, intelligent, and dangerous. She swallowed hard and tightened her grip on the glowing chest. "We can do this," she whispered, though her voice trembled. The dragon shifted slightly, the glow from its markings brightening, almost like it understood her determination. For the first time, Lara felt a strange surge of confidence. They weren't just running from danger, they were about to confront it together. And then, from the depths of the shadow, a sound rolled across the crater. A deep, resonant hum that vibrated through the ground and into their bones. It wasn't a meteor and it wasn't mechanical. It was alive. Something ancient. Something that had waited centuries. The dragon's amber eyes widened, reflecting not fear but recognition. Lara's pulse quickened. Whatever was coming, it knew them. And as the first glint of alien metal shimmered in the distance, Lara understood one thing with terrifying clarity: this was only the beginning. The ground shook violently beneath Lara as the shadow approached. Dust and debris swirled like a storm, whipping her hair across her face, stinging her eyes, but she didn't falter. The dragon beneath her trembled, wings quivering with every pulse of energy from its glowing core, yet it remained grounded, muscles tense as if bracing for what was coming. Lara gripped the rough scales, feeling the heat radiating from the strange markings pulsing across its chest and wings. Every pulse synchronized with the drumbeat of her own racing heart. The alien warship, or whatever it was, emerged fully now, massive, metallic, and alive. Its surface rippled with energy, reflecting the pale orange light of the burning sky, and its engines hummed a deep, resonant tone that shook the crater. Lara could see figures moving inside the cockpit, or maybe inside the living metal itself. She didn't have time to understand exactly what it was. All she knew was that it was fast, intelligent, and clearly hostile. A sharp vibration ran through the dragon's wings as it hissed, the sound low and almost human. Lara realized the creature wasn't panicking, it was calculating. It had lived through centuries, seen horrors she couldn't imagine, and now it was preparing to act. She slid slightly along its back, heart hammering, and whispered, "We fight together. We survive together." The dragon's head lowered, and a faint, almost imperceptible nod of understanding passed between them. The first drones, smaller but no less deadly, swooped in, claws extended, sensors glowing a menacing red. Lara's mind raced. She had no weapons, no backup, no plan except instinct and courage. She grabbed a fallen beam and hurled it at the nearest drone. Sparks erupted as it collided, sending the drone spinning into a crater wall. The dragon shifted, sensing her intentions, and flared a weak flame from its throat. The heat wasn't enough to burn, but the blast was perfectly timed, scattering another 2 drones. Lara's heart leapt. Each moment of success was tiny but crucial. Then the ground quaked again and a fissure opened beneath them. The dragon stumbled, its wings flaring dangerously close to the edge. Lara acted without thinking, throwing herself forward and pushing against its side, keeping it from falling. Her fingers dug into the rough scales, blood mixing with sweat, but she didn't let go. One wrong move and they would both plummet into the gaping chasm below. From the shadows of the warship, a deep, resonant pulse struck the crater, sending shivers through the dragon's glowing markings. Lara felt the vibrations through her fingertips. The markings were responding, reacting to the alien presence. A surge of energy ran along the dragon's chest, lighting the lines brighter than ever before. Lara realized with awe that the creature itself had a power she didn't fully understand, a weapon hidden within the ancient technology fused to it. The alien warship deployed smaller assault drones, dozens of them buzzing like predatory insects. The dragon hissed, wings flaring wider, attempting to rise despite its injuries. Lara clung desperately to its back as it lifted a fraction off the ground. Sparks and dust rained down around them as they began to rise, slow but determined. The drones swarmed, claws snapping and energy pulses firing, but Lara noticed something remarkable. The dragon's glowing markings interfered with their sensors. The pulsing light distorted the drone's targeting, giving them a fleeting advantage. "We can do this," she shouted over the roar of wind and metal. Her voice was steady, commanding, filled with certainty. The dragon let out a deep, resonant roar in response, flames licking from its mouth, small but defiant. Together they moved, weaving through falling debris, dodging drones, and climbing higher toward the fractured sky. Each maneuver tested their timing, their courage, their trust in one another. The largest drone lunged from above, claws extended, aiming to pierce the dragon's chest. Lara grabbed one of the glowing ridges on its wing, pressing her weight down and guiding it in a sharp, twisting turn. The drone missed by inches, slamming into a boulder and sparking violently. The dragon flapped its wings and a sudden pulse from its core sent a wave of energy outward, knocking the remaining drones back. Lara felt the vibration through her hands, felt the creature's power, felt their connection solidify. A sudden, sharp hum echoed across the crater. The alien warship's engines flared, and beams of energy shot toward the ground, targeting them. Lara's stomach dropped. The dragon hesitated, wings faltering mid-lift, but she gripped it tighter, shouting encouragement. Now together. With a surge, the dragon pushed off, wings beating against the chaos, and they rose above the devastation. Sparks from the crumbling crater followed them like falling stars. Hovering above the destruction, Lara felt a rush of triumph, but she knew it was only temporary. The warship was massive, far larger than they were, and it had just revealed its attention. The dragon's eyes glimmered, amber light reflecting determination, pain, and centuries of unspoken history. Lara realized that the markings weren't just decorative, they were a weapon, a key, and a signal. The dragon could fight, and together they could survive, but only if they understood the power within them. Then, a shadow detached from the warship, an enormous drone, black and angular, bristling with weapons. It descended toward them faster than anything Lara had ever seen. The dragon hissed, wings flaring, flames licking the air. Lara's stomach twisted, fear and exhilaration colliding. There was no plan beyond instinct, courage, and trust. She pressed her hands against the glowing markings on its chest, and felt the hum intensify, the energy building. A pulse shot outward, blinding and bright. The massive drone froze midair, sensors overloaded, then crashed into the debris-strewn crater below. Lara gasped, gripping the dragon as it circled, wings trembling but strong, the first real victory against the warship's forces. The adrenaline surged through her veins. They had survived against impossible odds, not because of weapons or numbers or technology, but because of courage, ingenuity, and trust. The dragon's amber eyes locked on hers, and for a moment, Lara felt an unspoken bond, centuries of knowledge and suffering connecting with the resolve of one human. Together they had faced annihilation and survived. But as she scanned the horizon, she saw the warship hovering farther back, engines pulsing, almost alive. It was observing, calculating, waiting. Her pulse quickened. They had won this battle, but the war had only begun. Whatever had sent this warship, whatever had marked the dragon centuries ago, it was still out there, watching, preparing. And now, Lara realized with a thrill and a chill, They had just put themselves directly in its path. The dragon roared, flames licking the air, pulsing with newfound strength, and Lara gritted her teeth, determination blazing. "We're not done yet," she whispered, gripping the glowing chest. "We survive. We fight. Together." And from the depths of the alien warship, a shadow shifted, something massive, intelligent, and ancient. And Lara understood with a sudden, terrifying clarity that the next encounter would test everything she had ever believed about courage, power, and the universe itself. The air above the crater shimmered with heat and dust as Lara gripped the dragon's scales, wings beating weakly but steadily beneath her. The alien warship lingered on the horizon, massive and silent now, as if observing rather than attacking. Lara's chest heaved, sweat and ash streaked across her face, but her eyes burned with determination. They had survived the impossible together, but the cost was heavy. The dragon's wings flared weakly, flames licking from its mouth in a small, controlled roar. Its amber eyes met Lara's, and for the first time she saw something more than pain and exhaustion there. She saw recognition, gratitude, and trust. A connection had formed between them, human courage and compassion, fused with ancient power. Lara smiled, shaky but proud. She had acted without hesitation when it mattered most, and it had changed everything. The crater below still smoked from the fallen drones, jagged metal scattered across the scorched ground. Lara scanned the remains, noting the twisted forms of the drones, sparks flickering from damaged circuits. She had done it. Every decision, every risk, every moment of fear had led to survival. Yet she knew it wasn't enough. The dragon's glowing chest pulsed stronger now, faint ripples extending along the etched markings. They weren't just decoration, they were a signal, a key to something larger, something that had drawn the alien warship here. "You're stronger than you realize," Lara whispered, pressing her hands against the pulsing markings. The dragon shivered, not from fear but from acknowledgement. She could feel its power, faint but undeniable, resonating with the strange energy inside her own body. Somehow, their courage, their bond, and their determination had awakened something that had lain dormant for centuries. The dragon's body trembled, but now it trembled with potential instead of pain. As they circled higher, Lara noticed faint ripples across the warship's surface, a shimmer like liquid metal. A voice, or perhaps an echo, passed through the air, low and resonant. The alien craft wasn't just observing, it was communicating. Lara's mind raced. Could it detect the dragon's awakened power? Did it understand the bond they now shared? She pressed closer to the dragon, whispering again, "We survive. We will face whatever comes next." Its head lowered slightly, wings adjusting as if nodding in agreement. Then, without warning, a smaller drone detached from the warship, darting toward them with incredible speed. Lara's stomach dropped. She had no weapons, nothing beyond instinct, the dragon's strength, and the faint energy pulsing beneath her hands. The drone shot forward, claws extended. The dragon's glowing markings pulsed violently, sending a wave of energy outward. The drone froze midair, sensors overwhelmed, and then crashed into the crater below. Lara's heart leapt. They had done it, not through firepower but through courage, intelligence, and trust. Humanity had shown, even in the face of alien technology far superior to anything she had ever known. As the dust settled, Lara's gaze swept the horizon. The warship hovered silently, massive, ominous, but it didn't advance. Its pulse slowed, almost cautious. Lara realized that for now they had earned a reprieve. But the moment of relief was brief. The markings on the dragon's chest continued to glow, faint ripples spreading outward, signaling something, an alert, a warning, a call. Lara's pulse quickened. Whatever lay ahead was bigger than they had imagined. She felt it in her bones. This was just the beginning. "Thank you," Lara whispered, almost to herself, and the dragon responded with a low, resonant sound that vibrated in her chest. It wasn't just a noise, it was acknowledgement, understanding, a bond forged through danger and courage. For the first time, Lara felt a deep, unshakable connection with a creature far older and stronger than herself. In that moment, the line between human and dragon blurred. They were allies, partners, and survivors of the same impossible odds. The dragon lifted higher, wings strong now, carrying Lara above the crater and toward the distant mountains. Lara's mind raced. She thought of the meteors, the drones, the alien warship, and the ancient markings. So many questions remained unanswered. Who had left the technology in the dragon centuries ago? Why was the warship here now? And what other threats lay hidden in the galaxy, waiting for humans to act with courage and resolve? A soft wind brushed Lara's face as she looked down at the smoking crater below, then back at the dragon's glowing chest. She understood something vital. They had survived because she had acted decisively without hesitation, because she had trusted her instincts and her compassion. Humanity had mattered. Her courage had mattered. And for the first time she realized that even a single human could change the course of ancient, unstoppable forces. The dragon's amber eyes gleamed as it turned its head toward the distant horizon. Lara followed its gaze and saw the faint shimmer of more alien vessels, barely visible against the orange sky. Her stomach tightened, but she gritted her teeth, determination flaring. They had survived one battle, but the universe was vast, and this encounter had only scratched the surface of the mystery. She pressed her hand again against the glowing markings, feeling the pulse beneath her fingertips. "We'll face it," she whispered. "Together." The dragon's wings flared, strong and confident now, beating steadily as if answering her promise. Lara smiled, exhilarated, her heart racing with anticipation and resolve. Humanity had survived, and for now they were ready for whatever came next. And then, from the distant horizon, a shadow flickered across the mountains. Bigger than anything they had faced, moving faster than the eye could follow. Lara's pulse quickened and the dragon tensed beneath her. The markings pulsed brighter, almost urgent. A new threat had arrived. Lara's eyes narrowed with determination. "Whatever it is, we'll face it," she said firmly. "We survive. We fight. Together." The dragon roared, a sound that shook the sky, flames licking its massive wings. And in that roar Lara understood something profound. Their story was far from over. The galaxy was vast, ancient, and full of danger, but courage, empathy, and determination could shine, even in the darkest of places. The wind carried the faint shimmer of movement from the horizon. Lara gritted her teeth. Something old, something powerful was coming. And when it arrived she would be ready.